Hey, what's up guys, it's Darius, and in a recent video I reviewed the Sony Xperia XZ2. Sony however also released its smaller sibling alongside, the Xperia XZ2 Compact, and this is my review of it 2 months later. Before we start, make sure you've subscribed and you've hit the bell so you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. Anyways, let's get on with this review. It's pretty much the exact same phone as the XZ2, with the main difference obviously being the size. While many other manufacturers release a Plus model of their device, Sony went the opposite route, releasing a compact version like they usually do. By today's standards, this is a tiny smartphone. It's a lot smaller than any other modern smartphone. In fact, it's the only good Android smartphone with such a compact form factor. I guess the only other alternative would be the iPhone 8. It's even smaller than the Pixel 2. I can't stress enough how small this device is and how refreshing it is being able to completely use my smartphone with one hand. The curvy compact construction fits really comfortably into my hand. The back and sides are made from plastic instead of glass and have this so-called frosted finish, which provides some grip. It's a little bit slippery and attracts some smudges, but it's miles better than on its glass-backed bigger brother. The XZ2 Compact's ergonomics are really very good. It's very easy to pick up from a flat surface, and it's overall one of the best handling experiences I've ever had with a smartphone. It's built like a tank. Seriously, it's incredibly solid and even quite thick and heavy. It will definitely last you a long time. And of course it's also water resistant, which Sony has been doing for ages now. Over the past 2 months, it's held up really well. Since it doesn't have a glass back, there aren't any small scratches. There's only a couple of very small ones on the front. Now sadly it's made from plastic, as I already mentioned, which means it loses a bit of that high quality aesthetics and feel of its bigger brother. On the other hand, it doesn't really feel cheap and ensures the aforementioned durability. While it doesn't look bad and it comes in a couple of nice colors, there's just something lacking compared to the beautiful regular XZ2. The rest of the build, however, is pretty much the same. It has the same modern notchless design with a taller aspect ratio and smaller bezels, which could be a little smaller, but that's really just nitpicking. The power button and fingerprint scanner are placed too low, making them weird to use. The scanner itself is actually quite good, but I wish they had found a better placement for it, even if it was just placed a little higher. The buttons are sadly a little flimsy, but I like that it has a dedicated shutter button. In terms of the little features, it lacks the headphone jack, has expandable storage, quick charge 3.0, and even fast wireless charging. One of the headlining features of the Xperia XZ2 was a new dynamic vibration system. It vibrated the phone based on the audio that was playing, letting you feel the action. The Compact, however, lacks that feature. I don't really mind it because when I used the feature, I found it to be more annoying than useful. The speakers itself are actually the same as on the regular XZ2, which means they are quite good. There's a wide front-facing speaker on the bottom bezel, which uses the earpiece for stereo sound. They get quite loud, don't distort, and sound great. And as a bonus, they're really hard to cover. The display naturally is quite small, but thanks to the reduced bezel size, it's actually the first Xperia Compact with a 5-inch display. And that isn't bad after all. In fact, it's actually the first time it's the same display as that of the bigger sibling. The quality is great with super accurate colors, it's even sharper than on the regular XZ2, and it has support for HDR10. The X-Reality engine converts regular footage to HDR, which usually does a good job, but in some cases overdoes it with a contrast. Moving on to battery life, it houses a smaller battery than its bigger brother, but due to the smaller screen, battery life was about the same, if not even slightly better. It will last you a day and a half with regular usage, 2 with lighter usage, and definitely a day with heavy usage. I've never managed to kill it in 1 day, which is very good. Sadly, it's pretty much the same story as with the regular XZ2. While it does have very good battery life, with such a thick body, they could have easily fit in a much larger battery pack and made battery life outstanding. The camera is exactly the same as on the bigger brother. It's a very good camera, much improved over previous Sony smartphones. It's still not the best, but it's up there. If you'd like to know in detail how the camera performs, then check out my XZ2 review up here. In short, it takes very good pictures with plenty of detail, accurate colors, and good dynamic range. It does well in low light, but there's still room for improvement. The 960 FPS Slo-Mo video looks incredible, but needs a lot of light, otherwise it's very noisy. Lastly, let's talk about the software and performance. And again, it's the exact same story as with the bigger brother. Same software and same internals. In my XZ2 review, I said this. While it has the latest and greatest internals, the phone actually lagged quite often. It froze, there was frequent app crashes, and it even got a little warm under load. This really shouldn't happen on a smartphone in 2018, especially a flagship one, and should be fixed with an update. A lot of people had trouble believing this, as you can tell by the comments. However, this sadly was confirmed again with the XZ2 Compact. There were app crashes, complete UI freezes, and I even had to restart the phone a couple of times because it just wouldn't work. To be fair, for the most part it did perform fine, but these issues really have to be addressed. Now it could be that I have two faulty units, but I highly doubt it. So I'm just sharing my experience with it. If you have good performance with it, then, well, that's great, but I really didn't. In terms of the software, so far it's completely up to date, which is a good start. Sadly, the UI isn't very modern, icons look dated, there's bloatware, and more features that you could ever use. While the UI isn't as heavy as it used to be, it definitely should be overhauled to match the redesigned hardware. To conclude, Xperia XZ2 Compact is a good smartphone. It has a nice design, an extremely solid build, great battery life, and a very good display. The performance, on the other hand, is not good for 2018. The software needs to be modernized, and while the camera is much improved and very good, it's still not quite good enough for a company like Sony. If you watched my Xperia XZ2 review, then you may have noticed that this is the exact same conclusion that I draw in that video. While they are very similar, they're in fact not the same smartphone. XZ2 competes with major phones like Galaxy S9, Huawei P20 Pro, and OnePlus 6. XZ2 Compact, on the other hand, plays in a league of its own. There aren't any good compact smartphones out there, except for the aforementioned iPhone 8. Sony is, apart from Apple, the only manufacturer that provides you with a great flagship experience in such a small form factor. Xperia Compacts are usually good smartphones, but while their price was always that of a flagship, it somehow always was a spec-down version of their larger sibling. While it lacks a few features of the regular XZ2, notably the dynamic vibration system and the better looking design, I feel like this is the first time an Xperia Compact isn't a compromise, but the real deal. In terms of price, it's actually a better value than its bigger brother, coming in at under $600. If you want a compact smartphone, then I highly recommend the Sony Xperia XZ2 Compact. Not because it's the best smartphone out there, but because there aren't any good alternatives. It's literally second to none. Anyways, I'll have a link to it below if you want to buy it. Also a link to my regular XZ2 review, so go check that out if you want a bigger smartphone. Thank you guys for watching all the way up to the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button, comment down below if you have any feedback or questions. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, link is also down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. See you in the next one. Bye. Yes, done. Moving on to battery life. For fuck's sake, can't it stay up there?